So yesterday I was kind of sharing about the book of Thessalonians and how Paul was writing to the Thessalonians and telling them, encouraging them, saying, you've turned to God from idols. And what a great thing that was, and what a great encouragement that was from Paul to those people, and saying how they found the true and living God. And through that I was kind of reminded for this passage in James. James chapter 4 verse 4, it says, you adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is hostility toward God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. And there's some pretty strong wording in this passage that James uses to call people, to call us who are not really walking the way that we should. And James uses the word adulteresses. He doesn't use, that's harsh. He doesn't use this softer terminology saying, you bad people, you shameful people, you wrongdoers. He says, no, you married people who have been unfaithful to your spouse. You adulteresses. That God is jealous for our love, and that we found it in the world. And when I think of worldliness and finding pleasure in things of the world, I think of putting value on what this world has to offer rather than value on what God has to offer. And James calls us out. It says, you adulteresses, that we've been unfaithful to God because we've valued things of this world more than we've valued Him. And I'm reminded of this book in the Old Testament of the prophet Hosea. And if you've ever read the book it's pretty messed up. God in the past has told his prophets to do some pretty crazy things, and Hosea does not fall short of that. God tells him to do some pretty crazy things. God tells him to go out and marry a prostitute, that take a prostitute for your wife. And so Hosea finds this woman Gomer, and he takes her to be his wife and has children with her, and she's a prostitute. And so she is constantly seeking for attention and love in the arms of other men, and she's unfaithful to him. And so here's Hosea struggling with that and kind of crying out to God and complaining to God, and God opens his eyes at that point, and God tells him, the way that she is with you is the way that you are with me. And that's harsh to think of how we constantly do that. And, don't we do that? God offers us so much, but we'd rather find it other places. And when James says, you adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is hostility toward God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. And this strong wording of adulteresses and enemies of God, that when we put value in things of this world, we're taking value from things that God has to offer, because we're not focusing on what God has to offer and His value for us in our lives. And it's pretty crazy to think of just the times in my own life where I've kind of traded what God has to offer for the things that this world has to offer, because in my short-sightedness I think this is better. This is better. And what God has to offer, is it really the best thing for me right now? So I go with what the world has rather than what God has. And that's worldly, valuing the world rather than valuing God. And it's hostility toward God, being adulterous. The Old Testament constantly reminds us that our God is a jealous God, that He's jealous for our obedience and our attention and our love, that He wants this closeness and intimacy with us that we constantly find in idols or things that we could put in place of God. So God's rocking my world a little bit with that. Thought I'd share it. Hope it could be of some value to you. Anyway, thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.